Sir Lieutenant Palmer, the Royal Engineers Bomb Disposal Squad. The year is 1940. I'm here on behalf of Hysterical History to produce a little video of some of the things that we had to put up with during the war. Now, obviously we're talking about bombs here, but some of the stories I have to tell you involve some very, very stupid granddads. And if you've heard about some of the stories, bear with me. But stupid granddads. I've got a picture of a stupid granddad just here actually. This is the sort of thing I'm talking about. See this young lad? It's obviously a grandad now, but back then, sitting on a sea mine, enjoying an ice cream. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. Let's carry on. So stupid granddads. They weren't always a grandad. They might have always been stupid, but during the war, running around in their shorts with their little knobbly knees sticking out, their playgrounds were the bomb sites, the bomb craters and the demolished houses of World War II. And, well, some of the things that they liked to collect were actually shrapnel and bombs. Some of the stories I'm going to tell you today involve these granddads that we're talking about, the stupid granddads, that have picked up stuff. So let's crack on. Start with the smallest. Here we go. Simple bullet. Most children are fascinated by bullets, believe it or not. If you find a bullet, they pick it up. The children during World War II used to see a bullet and they'd consider it a bit of a trophy. These things could be hung around the neck on a bit of string, but it was taken from places like artillery placements on the end of the road with guns that used to fire up to the airplanes, and used to go onto firing ranges and get the tips of the bullets. But these things can be quite dangerous, even still today, that if a child was to pick up a bullet and put it into their pocket, and it was to hit a coin or maybe their keys or something like that, you could then fire that bullet in basically any direction. It can be quite disastrous. So as a general rule, I always tell children, don't pick up bullets. And it's always important to know if a bullet has been fired or not, because lots of people these days put the tips back on the bullets. So even for us it's quite dangerous because we don't know whether they're live or not till we check them. One way you check them, always look at the percussion cap at the bottom. If it's got a hole in the middle of it like you can see there, it's usually been fired. But still, don't touch anything. Now, bullets are quite simple things to pick up, and you'll find those quite a lot, but we're talking about really stupid granddads here. This one next. This is a World War II German incendiary bomb. This one came to me live, and this one I had to defuse myself, but as you can see, this one didn't explode, this one burns, and these would often be heard during a bombing run before the bombs started dropping, and they would bounce off the roof and land in the street. Now, like I say, they didn't explode, they burned, and lots of children lost their fingers from these things. And what you see here is quite a fine example one. It's still got the tail fin on. A lot of them don't have the tail fin. But this one in particular you can see has not melted nor exploded. But this one was picked up by a gentleman who lived in the East End of London, and the next morning he saw this lying in the road, was the first one to see it, picked it up, put it in his pocket. When he put it in his pocket, he took it to school. And when he took it to school, he was the most popular kid in the whole of school for the whole week, as he told me. Now, the problem with this was that after a while, they get bored of things like this. So he then gave it to his sister, whose name on the label here says it was Briny Daisy. Briny Daisy here. Oh, he can remember Briny Daisy running around the front room with this space rocket, backwards and forwards. But the problem with it was that he'd actually given his sister a live bomb. Because as you can see, it's not melted. It is literally still live. Well, it's not live now, I've diffused it. But when he gave it to me, I did say to him, I said, like, well, why is it not melted? And he said, oh, it's not live, it's not live. It was live. So there's a bit of a tip there. By the way, he hid this in his pants drawer for years. Now, if you were a service personnel, the chances are that you would have a responsibility to go out in an air raid and although there were bombs dropping and bullets flying, it was more likely that you would get killed or injured by one of our own bombs. And the reason being was that these things were falling out of the sky. This here is the timing fuse of an anti-aircraft shell, just like this one, but even bigger. These things were falling from tens of thousands of feet out of the sky, and if you were unlucky enough to be underneath one, they're quite weighty as well. So the chances are it would smash you in the head. Now, as a service personnel, because I'm allowed out, I would always carry my helmet. That would stop one of these. I mean, I'd still get a bit of a headache, but it would protect me. But if you was a child and you went out, the next thing is that they would find your body the next morning with one of these wedged in your brain. Because falling from tens of thousands of feet out of the sky, downward, it can cause a lot of damage. I get given lots of these every year by metal detectorists that are still digging them up, and they say, like, are they dangerous? I said, only during wartime if they were falling out of the sky and you happen to be out. These days they're quite safe, but they are very, very heavy. Now, moving on. This one's quite interesting. You just saw it a second ago. This is an anti-aircraft shell. The gentleman that gave it to me, he found the shell parts, and he was quite good at woodwork. So what he did was, while at school, he created his own projectile on the top, made out of wood. But the shell's very much real. And he said to me that he'd been using it as a doorstop for years around the house. But when he said to me, it's not live, I said to him, I'll just check. And the way that we always check things is not by what's on top, but what's underneath. Just like the bullet, in there was a live percussion cap. Now the problem is, if you think about this, as a doorstop, he'd been moving it around his house for years. I don't want it there, I want it there. He didn't want it there, he wanted it there. For years it had been quite a fancy doorstop. The problem is, the bit that has to be hit is underneath there, and if you happen to just put it onto a stone, it would have blown up. Or, more to the point, it would have shot this thing straight up. Now if you can imagine, where's your head every time you place this thing down on the ground? It's directly above. There was a very, very good chance that he almost blew his own head off. Just another thing that I had to defuse because of a stupid granddad. Now, there is a couple of others I want to show you. One here is got a bit of a fancy name. It's called a butterfly bomb. Very, 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 very few of these exist today. And this one here, you can see, got some lovely paintwork on it. The children during World War II would often watch the airplanes fly through the sky. And because they were really focused on getting some shrapnel, these things always guaranteed shrapnel. And this is an aerial mine. It's an anti-personnel bomb for blowing people up, maybe in the fields or in the streets. These used to fall out of the sky in hundreds, and these ones, the children used to watch them float down out of the sky because they rather fancily have some wings here that flap, and they spin round and round and round, and when they land, they don't blow up. What actually happens is, they just rest there, and they wait for someone to step near them. And when they step near them, that's when they blow up. Now the children would often see where they landed and try to get there before the police or the army did. And what they would do is hide behind a tree and throw stones at them, hoping they would blow up, and then they could go track down the shrapnel. Now I am told that many children used to put them on bits of string and give them to their sweethearts. And I can't imagine anything more romantic than a jagged piece of old metal hanging from your throat, scraping all your skin. But hey, each to their own. Now these particular bombs, these were very, very sensitive, and a lot of them don't exist today, but this particular example is a model of one, and it's surprising how many stupid granddads remember these. So, just put that to one side for a minute. Remember, butterfly bomb, not very nice. Now this one here is an interesting one. This one is an example of sort of things that we have to deal with as bomb disposal technicians. And when someone gave it to me, they said, "Oh, you'll like this one. You can have it. Show the children." I'd never seen anything quite like it, but when I looked at it with a little bit more eagerness, I saw that this bit on the top, which is just like one of those, is the timing fuse off of an artillery shell. It's World War One, and this bit here is made of polystyrene. It actually comes off of a boat, hangs over the side, stops the boat banging against the harbour wall and things like that. And looking upon it even further, I noticed in the base there's an old World War II shell, just there, see it? Now the funny thing was that this is when I kind of look at the Grandads and imagine that they must have too much imagination, because what he'd actually done was he'd taken loads of little bits that he had, a bullet, and a fuse, and a ship's buoy, and he'd painted it black and made it look like a bomb. So as you can possibly imagine, if we were doing our job and running around chasing bombs, having to, take them apart, and we saw this thing, it's kind of, what do you do? How do you handle it? And things like this do exist, and stupid granddads do create things like this, and they are the bane of my life, really. But without them, we wouldn't have some of these great stories to tell you. So, in general, I would say that ask your granddad if he has any stupid stories, and then you can really tell if he is a stupid granddad or not. And if he suddenly starts going, "I've got something for you in the loft," run. Because probably he's got some bombs or something similar. And quite frankly, you don't need to be around anything like that. It's not impressive anymore. Stick with your game consoles or whatever it is that you do. Dollies, rubbish, whatever. But yeah, Grandad says he's got something in the loft for you. It's not going to be money. Just leave it. Run. Go home. Say goodbye. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. See you again at one of our shows. Thank you very much. Bye.